Please also, candidates, ensure that after you're going to control your own microphone, you'll control your own audio, and just make sure that you unmute and then mute yourself when you complete your statement, your answers.
So we have 24 participants so far, which is great since we only had 18 registered about a half an hour ago. So that's pretty good. So we'll wait another minute and then we'll start. Okay, I think we can get started. Let's see. All right. Welcome and thank you for coming to this evening's Candidates Forum. I'm Liz Rotfeld from the Rye-Brook Portchester League of Women Voters. The League is nonpartisan. It neither supports nor opposes candidates. Our members are from a wide variety of political perspectives who are dedicated to encouraging the informed and active participation of our citizens in our government at all levels. Please allow me to introduce our moderator for this evening, Kathy Meany. Kathy is the president of the League of Women Voters of Westchester County as the support umbrella for all the local leagues in our county. She is a member of the River Towns League and an Ossining resident. We thank her for being here this evening. Without further ado, I will turn the forum over to Kathy, who will introduce our candidates, timekeeper, and outline the format. Best of wishes to everyone for this night. Thank you.
Wonderful, Liz. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. Before we begin, I would like to share that this event will be recorded by the League and be available for subsequent viewing on the League of Women Voters of Rye-Brook Portchester's website, Facebook, and YouTube channel. Any authorized use of the recording requires the advance approval of this League, and only licensed media, including TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled by FCC regulations to air portions of this recording. Anyone else who broadcasts or streams this recording must do so in its entirety. This is to ensure that the content of the event is not manipulated in any way to create false or misleading impressions. And finally, I remind you that School Board Election Day is coming up May 16th, and voting will take place from 6 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. Tonight, we have 3 candidates running for 2 open school board seats, each for a 3-year term in the Rye-Neck Union Free School District. In alphabetical order, your candidates are Mr. Jason Carmel, Ms. Jamie Santa, and Ms. Erica Wagner. Now let's go over a few ground rules that have already been reviewed with the candidates. In order of opening statements, the order of opening statements will be in alphabetical order, and the order of response statements has been determined by lots that were drawn before the start of the forum. The order of the closing statements will be in the reverse order as the opening statements. Throughout the forum, no comments of a personal or abusive nature will be permitted, and the moderator will rule this out of order. Each candidate has up to 2 minutes for an opening statement. Candidates will then have a maximum of 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Our timekeeper this evening is Roz Carbon, and she will indicate a 30-second sign when there are 30 seconds remaining, and will display stop when the time is up. Candidates may finish their sentence, but not go beyond the stop time. Questions from the public were submitted prior to the candidates forum, and in some instances been combined with other similar questions on the same topic. Once collected, questions were vetted by the League of Women Voters of Rye-Brook Portchester. No questions of a personal nature are permitted, and the audience will not be able to submit questions or comments during the forum. At the conclusion of the question period, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for their closing statement, which again will be in the reverse order as the opening statement. So with that, let's begin our event this evening. And candidates, you'll start in alphabetical order, and good luck to all of you. Our first speaker for opening statement is Mr. Jason Carmel, and you have up to 2 minutes.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. I'm Jason Carmel, and I'm running for the Board of Education to help make Rhinebeck the leading school district in Westchester. I've lived in Rhinebeck for 11 years. My wife Amanda and I are raising 3 Rhinebeck students. I'm a neurologist and a neuroscientist. I did my undergraduate studies at Stanford and my medical studies at Columbia. My most relevant experience is that I sit on several boards, including 2 national medical societies, a local nonprofit, and a company I co-founded. In addition to sitting on these boards, I also report to the board of a center that I run at Columbia. I have fiduciary responsibilities in each of these positions. In terms of service, I sit on the High School Parent Advisory Council. I've also taught Rhinebeck students, including at the middle and high school. I have regular teaching responsibilities in the medical school and in my laboratory at Columbia. Although I have other responsibility, I'll prioritize this board. An advantage of being a mid-career professional is that I have control over my time. I typically work from home 2 days a week, and I've made adjustments to be available for Rhinebeck. I decided to run for the board because I felt like there was an opportunity to contribute with my skills to allow all Rhinebeck students to succeed. To me, the priority for Rhinebeck is to develop a clear strategic plan. Every high-performing organization that I've been fortunate enough to be part of has set clear goals, a timeline for achieving those goals, and a process for evaluating success. If elected, I would help to make sure that the superintendent develops a clear plan with leadership, communicates that plan to the school and the community, and adheres to the timeline it creates. I'll also prioritize the safety and the health of our students. I would like to partner with the other board members, school leadership, and the community to make this happen.
Thank you very much. Ms. Jamie Santa.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jamie Santa, and I am running as a trustee for the Rhinebeck Board of Education. I would like to start off by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and my fellow candidates, Jason and Erica, for their willingness to provide this public service to our district. I have lived in Rhinebeck for the past 10 years with my husband, George, and our 3 sons. We currently have 1 child at Effie Bellows, 1 at the middle school, and 1 at the high school. So I am very familiar with the workings of this small yet impressive district. I am a product of both public and private education, and when we were looking for a community in which to raise our boys, we specifically sought out Rhinebeck because of its diversity and excellent academic reputation. I graduated from the S.I. Newhouse School of Public Communications at Syracuse University with a Bachelor of Science in Photojournalism, and prior to having children, worked as a senior photo editor for Condé Nast and Time Inc. Since my oldest son was in kindergarten, I have served our community in various roles on the PTSA, including head of class parents for both Daniel Warren and Bellows, and head of 5th grade and 7th grade affairs, working with Mr. Scarantino and Dr. Barker directly. In addition, I have served multiple terms on the Principals Advisory Committee and was selected as a parent panelist for the middle school principal search, working directly with Dr. Latinsky to represent our community. Currently, I serve on the Student Aid Fund Committee, the Booster Club Scholarship Selection Committee, and am also the liaison to Bellows for the Booster Club. I am running for the Board of Ed to ensure that all students in our community have every opportunity to succeed academically, artistically, athletically, while having the resources needed for positive social emotional growth. I am running to encourage and support community involvement and enhance communication with the hope that fresh ideas help us to better utilize our resources and continue to move our district forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santa. Ms. Erica Wagner.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and to Jason and Jamie for joining me on this exciting journey to become a board trustee. My husband Greg and I have been in the district for 10 years and feel very lucky to raise our 3 kids in a community as strong, diverse, and warm as Rhinebeck. Next year, we'll have 1 child at Bellows, 1 at the middle school, and 1 at the high school. From an academic perspective, I'm the product of a public school education. I came up through Miami's large school system, over 650 kids in my grade, and continued on to the University of Florida. I feel fortunate to have found Rhinebeck, a public school that offers the diversity, size, and engagement we craved, but did not know was possible. Professionally, I enjoyed a successful career in marketing and publishing, where I gained leadership skills, consistently ranked as a top producer, and flexed my creativity to bring innovative campaigns to life. I was successful because of my ability to analyze problems from multiple angles, work with partners to find win-win solutions, and really listen to the needs of my clients. I also co-founded Snack Riot, which shipped healthy snack boxes to subscribers in 45 states, as well as to corporate clients like Google. As a result of successful financial management, Snack Riot was sold in December of 2021. Over the past 9 years, I held various positions within the PTSA, the Booster Club, and served on multiple principal advisory committees. I also organized and hosted successful Rhinebeck school and district fundraisers. I'm running for the board because the more I engage with and listen to members of the community, the more I realize I have both the ideas on how to affect positive change and the skills required to do so. My strong skills in communications and operations, coupled with my long-standing and consistent engagement with the Rhinebeck community, will allow me to be an effective and successful Board of Education trustee. I'm looking forward to tonight's forum.
Thank you very much. Now let's begin the questions for this evening. So the first one will go to you, Ms. Santa. What do you consider Rhinebeck School District's greatest strength? What do you consider its greatest challenge, and how would you address it? Ms. Santa?
Thank you. Sorry about that. Sorry. What I love most about our school district is our diverse community and the small class sizes that allow us to give our students individualized attention. Rhinebeck offers a private school feel in a public school setting. However, all schools can always improve, and we should always aim to do better. As far as weaknesses go, I believe the district could improve how it communicates. While the district has come a long way in improving communications, it could do a better job of making the community feel more heard and more included. I am committed to exploring new methods to ensure the community has timely and thoughtful information from the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carmel?
In terms of the strengths of our community, I think it's the sort of small and warm environment. I grew up in a sort of anonymous apartment building in New York City. And having raised our kids here, that sense of everybody being close together, the walks to school, it's an amazing close-knit community. We all want our kids to be recognized for who they are and the unique aspects of what they bring. And I feel like that small school environment really helps that. In terms of the greatest weakness, I feel like the school district hasn't really set itself up for a process of self-improvement. And once you set that goal, there has to be a strategy, a clear process for achieving it. To me, that goal should be on the landing page of the Rhinebeck School District. It would allow clear guidance, not just for the school administration and teachers, but for the community, how we could participate in making our schools even better.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Wagner?
I think the Rhinebeck School District has a ton of strengths. I think one is our class size, which obviously speaks to our district size. You know, the class size at the elementary schools is anywhere from 17 to 22 kids, and even smaller for the middle school and high school, which is a very favorable learning environment. I think our small size also affects our teachers' ability to really get to know our kids. And we all know that when, you know, a specific teacher or a coach connects with a kid and they can continue that like kind of mentor-mentee relationship through graduation, it's going to yield a lot of positive benefits. And a community like ours, I think, sets up these interactions more than maybe a larger district. I think our diversity is a huge benefit. I think we're all beneficiaries of the diverse student body, culturally, ethnicity. I mean, I think Rhinebeck kind of has it all. And I love the sense of community. I think, unfortunately, they've been results of negative things, like Hurricane Ida last year, seeing the whole community get together to help, fellow students and families that lost everything, or the March for Safety in our schools. But then just real quick before I run out of time, challenges, I think our size can also be a detriment sometimes. It restricts resources, it restricts certain opportunities that some larger districts have. And I also think, I agree with my fellow candidates that the communication, which we'll talk about tonight, is not great. And I think, with better enhanced communication, we'll have better enhanced engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wagner. All right, we go on to the next question, starting with Mr. Carmel. Given the complexity of our budget with capital project updates, COVID funding, hiring of new staff, and inflation, what financial experience and budgeting skills do you have to prepare yourself for this role on the Board of Education?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, so I run a center at Columbia that, I'm the person who's responsible for setting and meeting the budget. We have about a $4.5 million budget that I'm responsible not only for, keeping costs down, but for creating a lot of the revenues through grant funding and other mechanisms, as well as clinical revenues. I also have fiduciary responsibility to a small company that I've created, and these two national medical societies. I'm actually the treasurer of the American Society for Neurorehabilitation. So I have a lot of experience in terms of creating and maintaining budgets. So, I think that we have a really great team at Rhinebeck, including the assistant superintendent for finance. But I think that, it's really up to us as the board to make sure that we have all of the potential threats of economic trends that may upset the budget.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wagner?
So as I mentioned, I co-founded my own company called Snack Riot. And within Snack Riot, I wore many hats. One of them was being the sole overseer of all of our finances. So I had fiduciary responsibility and managed all of the contracts that we did, whether it was we outsourced our marketing to a firm in Chicago or working with our digital team in California. I managed those contracts for the most favorable terms for our small business. Our vendor partnerships, procuring all of the raw materials, the shipping, the distribution, our labor, our warehouse contracts. I negotiated favorable terms with our brand partners, and all the while really keeping an eye on the bottom line and maximizing, our margins wherever and however possible. As a result of positive financial management, we were able to sell the business in December of 2021. Prior to my Snack Riot experience, I worked in corporate America on the sales side for close to 20 years. And in that role, I negotiated several multi-million-dollar contracts and consistently exceeded my sales goals as well as the team budgets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa? You're muted.
Yep, sorry. Having lived in this district for the past 10 years, I have been through several budget seasons. This year, I have been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to meet with Carolyn Mahar, the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Budget, just to make sure I have a real handle on what the budget means for our community. I have spent a significant amount of time dissecting each line of our past and proposed budgets to understand the inner workings of our school finances. In cases where I had questions about a line item, I reached out to Carolyn, who explained the meaning or reasoning behind the expenditure. As a board member, I will be able to combine my experience in my past career with our district's outstanding resources to ensure that we maintain a fiscally conservative budget to minimize costs to taxpayers while maximizing the programs and services we continue to offer our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. We start with you, Ms. Wagner. Research demonstrates that students are behind academically post-pandemic. What do you think the administration can do to address the deficiencies that were caused by the 2-year pandemic?
Well, I mean, I think we are definitely getting back on our feet and moving forward. And I think that one really positive thing to do would be to create more opportunities for our kids to really shine and showcase their talents. And that could be academically, it could be athletically, but I think it's really important for the kids to have the opportunity, especially going through what they're going through, having gone through what they've been through, to really shine the light on what they're most proud of. And I think, you know, as a district, that it would be beneficial for us to do a better job promoting some of our offerings and in turn increase engagement. So for instance, we have the Science Center. It's amazing. It's underused in my opinion. You know, this year there were 8 middle school science fair participants. They took away the Science Olympiad program. I'm not sure why, because it was a big success last year and Rhinebeck performed really well at the event. I just think that there's a lot of different things that we could do or promote mock trial. I think that the community needs to do, the district needs to do a better job communicating our offerings and bringing kids in, whether it's on the athletic fields or in the classroom, so that they have an opportunity to feel confident about what they can do. And, you know, whether it's the ILP project, I mean, there's so many things at this school. We just need to bring the kids in and increase the engagement.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa, we come to you.
Thank you. I agree with Erica. This is a serious problem, and it's not one with a universal answer. Our younger learners might be struggling to read. Our middle schoolers might have missed out on learning how to study or how to write a paper. Our high schoolers might be lacking the skills needed to become critical thinkers. These are just some examples, and I'm sure the list can go on and on. Collaboration is key here because none of us have ever experienced anything like the COVID pandemic before. It is unprecedented. We need to add additional AIS, academic intervention services, to help students that are not meeting grade level standards. We need to provide check-in opportunities with our mental health staff. We need to use the teachers to provide feedback on those areas in which the students are lacking. When age appropriate, we need to involve our students and get their feedback on where they are struggling. Additionally, we need to address enrichment opportunities for our students that are not being challenged enough. My position is that we are looking at all students and all gaps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carmel.
The pandemic hit all of our students, and I don't think that when I was going through it with my kids learning online, we appreciated how much it set them back. And the effects of the pandemic were disproportional, right? With kids who had less access to enrichment services, less access to technology, and made digital learning and remote learning more difficult. Part of it will be remediation for particularly for the kids who are struggling the most. They need to be supported. They need to, in some cases, rebuild some of these basic building blocks that enable the future learning. In some cases, it's the social experience and some of these enrichment activities that were missed so much with looking at a screen to learn. And I think that Rhinebeck needs to look for creating essentially more time in school, with various programs after school or other possibilities in order to try to close the gap. It's a hard issue.
Thank you very much. All right, next question. Ms. Santa, we begin with you. What do you know about educational funds and nonprofit contributions to this district? Would you support one for this district, and why or why not?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What do you know about educational funds and nonprofit contributions to this district? And would you support one for this district, and why or why not?
Well, this is the 12th year in a row that our budget is tax cap compliant. I think our $49,651,520 budget is a fiscally responsible budget with an increase of only 4.38%. 85% of our budget does come from property taxes. I think some ways to possibly look into that would be to look into some grants, and I would support that. I support the educational funds to help all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carmel.
Yeah, I would firmly support a foundation or nonprofit in order to in order to provide extra services. And in fact, we have that essentially, right, with the PTSA that does enrichment activities, and they raise money through philanthropic methods. I spend a lot of my time writing grants as a scientist, but also to support the center that I run at Columbia. And I think it's a really wonderful opportunity for RINEC to increase funds without burdening taxpayers anymore. I think that a lot of the challenges of being a small school district and not having sort of the breadth of the tax base, some of those could be plugged with some of these philanthropic funds. So I'd strongly support it.
Thank you. Ms. Wagner.
Well, I mean, from my knowledge, an education fund it's privately funded, and it's an alternative way for the district to raise money for additional resources. And these, in my understanding, would be resources that we can't afford with our current budget that's largely as a result of taxpayer dollars. The PTSA and the Booster Club, I think that they're probably pretty tapped out with all the great things that they're already supplying to the district. So I would be absolutely in support of creating additional revenue streams. I think one disadvantage of RINEC is that we don't have any large corporations that are supplying their tax dollars to our district, which isn't helping us. So we're basically the only ones funding what we have. I know that a number of our neighboring districts do have education funds. I know Harrison, Mamaroneck, Rye, Byram Hills, Irvington, I mean, they all do, and they use it in really different ways. And it's seems like it's a properly vetted way. It's grant, I think it goes through grant requests so that, the community, it's a way that the school can really say, we think that we need more safety supplies, or we would like new scoreboard or lights for the football fields. It's just a different way for us to fund things that we don't currently have. So yes, I would absolutely be in support of an education fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Carmel, we'll start with you. In this post-COVID era, what programs and initiatives would you propose and or support to promote the physical and mental well-being of our students and staff, including those that address bullying and harassment?
So you mentioned both physical and mental health of
Yes.
our students. So in terms of safety, I think we need to be proactive in terms of protecting our children. The community is organized in this front, which I think is great. And we actually have some best practices that can help guide us. We want a feeling of welcoming and safe space for our kids, and we should be doing everything we can to address this low but very real threat. And I think that the administration is moving towards creating the physical safety. They've also contracted with effective school solutions for mental health. This will be really important in terms of providing extra resources in school. So hopefully we can keep kids who have mental health needs closer to our community. And so in these ways, I think that we can both support the physical protect our children by offering deterrence for any bad actors, and also making sure that their mental health needs are taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Carmel. Ms. Wagner?
I think it's a really important question, that of mental health. I know that, as Jason just alluded to, the school is going to be introducing in the coming year the Effective School Solutions Program, which is going to provide, as he said, in-house support and therapy. I believe it's going to focus on anxiety and behavior and overall intervention. So I think that's going to be a great resource moving forward. I also know on the subject of mental health, it's still in its infancy, but this district did introduce the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative, which has the premise of it's all about making students feel welcome, which is a big factor in mental health. And it's really about celebrating our differences. These are assets. These are not obstacles. And I think that that's going to go, a long way in making, everyone feel welcome and included and overall more positive. And some recent examples of Rhinebeck kind of walking the talk or talking, whatever they say. The elementary schools just chose Wonder for their movie night, which is a great movie about inclusion. We just had some Holocaust survivors speak to the middle school and high school. We have the Gender Sexuality Alliance. And I suspect that there's a great desire to create more of these programs that are inclusive and make everyone just feel good about themselves and that they're loved and that they're supported. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa?
Thank you. I believe one of the responsibilities of the board is being an advocate for all students, and that responsibility should reach outside the classroom walls. The mental health crisis, drug and alcohol dependencies, and bullying issues arising from social media are a huge problem facing our children today. This is not just a board problem. It's not just a parent problem, and it's not just a children problem. This is all of our problem. We are in this together. As an advocate for the district, we need to partner with other local schools, communicate with local and state government to gain any advantage in this area. I think we need student advocacy groups to help us understand more about these issues from the people that are living with this day to day. Teachers and staff are observing our students daily. More professional development will identify problems early on and stop bigger issues before they are arising. When it comes to bullying, no one is perfect and our children are going to make mistakes along the way, but we must keep advocating and doing whatever is necessary to address these issues. One of the things I love that our school did this year is the PTSA Health and Wellness Committee partnered to bring the JCK Foundation to work with the students in grades 6 through 12. Not only did they have a presentation about mental wellness, kindness, and loneliness, but they organized small groups of students to talk about ways to be gentler on themselves and each other. I think as a district, we are headed in the right direction with the improvements we are making in the mental health department. As a board member, I would continue to support this and other proactive initiatives to assist our students in partnership with our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Wagner, we're going to start with you. What have you learned by attending board meetings about the interaction between the board and the community? Do you view those interactions as positive? And what do you feel can be improved?
There's a lot there. Well, from going to multiple board meetings, I've learned that the general meetings invite the community feedback, but there's no opportunity for the board reply or to give feedback. The planning meetings invite you to kind of watch the whole decision-making process, but the community members are not allowed to give any feedback. So that's what I've learned. What I think is good is I think that the board offers regularly scheduled private board office hours where people can go and speak about things that are personal to them, and the board then has the opportunity to address them. I think that's a good format that's set up. I like that there's 4 public open forum opportunities for everyone to review the budget before it's put to a vote. I like that they outline their procedures of how to escalate any concerns or things that you want changed. I respect the structure and the formality of the board in terms of what might be improved. I think perhaps maybe if the board could provide an outline on timing as to, if someone brings up a problem, when they might hear a response or what the next steps might be. I don't know, I'm not on the board yet, so I can't, or if I get on the board, I think that I'd be better able to answer the part about what could be improved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa.
Hi. I believe that more is more here. I think that Board of Ed members should be representing our community at as many Rhinebeck events as possible. When you decide to run for the board, you should know the time commitment is quite large. Board members should be visible in our district, approachable to all members of the community, and open to suggestions that they might not necessarily agree with. I believe that we should all have an equal voice in this district. The board currently has public meetings, like Erica said, where the community has a chance to speak, planning sessions where the community can watch the board work, and monthly opportunities to sit down with members to address an issue in a more private manner. I would love to explore more ways to engage with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carmel.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wonderful work that the board does, a lot of wonderful community members who want to engage the board on their issues that they feel passionately about. To me, the hardest interaction is people advocating for beliefs that they feel strongly and feeling like they get defensiveness or pushback. And I think that as board members, we are deeply committed to the school district, and so are those parents who are advocating strongly for their children. Once we go under that assumption that everybody's doing the best they can for their kids, I think that there's a way of letting that defensiveness go down, a way of enabling us to really listen to what the concerns are. And the biggest thing that I hope that we and in our oversight of the superintendent can do is to really make sure that that there's action that meets people's concerns. Being able to articulate what's happening as the process goes on. And then once we come to a resolution about what needs to be done, we need to do so decisively.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa, we'll begin with you with the next question. What do you think should be the relationship between the school board and the superintendent?
That's a great question. Thank you. So the board is responsible for selecting and annually evaluating the superintendent, and I'm a firm believer that we are all in this together. So while we may not always agree, I am committed to ensure, if I am elected as a board member, that we listen respectfully, we collaborate, and we execute as one. The board works for the community. It does not work for the superintendent. That being said, I believe the relationship with the superintendent should be collaborative and supportive. The board should work with the superintendent to make decisions that satisfy the needs of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carmel.
The superintendent has multiple constituencies: the teachers, the parents, the students, and then the superintendent ultimately reports to the board. And that's a hard job. And we need to be there to support the superintendent. We're there to help that person with the demands that they have, to think in large ways and creative ways. On the other hand, we are the person to whom we are the board to whom the superintendent reports. And when we evaluate that person, we're going to say the things that we think that person is doing well, and also make sure that they address if there's any shortcomings. With regards to a strategic plan, which is clearly an important thing for me, and I think probably the community, once the plan is developed and a timeline is created, we need to make sure that the superintendent does the work needed to make sure that things are delivered on the time that they're proposed.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wagner?
Well, I pretty much agree with everything that Jamie and Jason just outlined. I think the relationship between the board and the super, should be ideally one of mutual respect. There should be an open door policy, a willingness to engage and confront and tackle any and every subject. Nothing should really be off limits in regard to the relationship between the board and the superintendent. They should act as a mutual sounding board for one another. I mean, ultimately, the superintendent is responsible for addressing the issues that the board presents. So there's absolutely a level of accountability. But at the end of the day, I would wish it to be that of a very respectful working relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Carmel, we'll begin with you. Please cite one decision the current Board of Education made in the past year, one that you agreed with, and then also one that you disagree with, and explain why.
Thanks for that question. In terms of board decisions that I agree with, I would say one of the strongest things is the budget planning. That's one of our key responsibilities, and in addition to the superintendent and creating policy. I think the district does a great job, not just in terms of the numbers, but also giving a little bit of the motivations of what they, of how they handle things. In terms of something, a decision that I sort of disagree with, I feel like maybe it wasn't so much a decision, but a lack of follow through on our diversity, equity, and inclusion. That committee has essentially sort of, as far as I can tell, it's kind of hit a blind, it hasn't gone anywhere. And to me, once we create a committee, once we dedicate ourselves in a specific area, there should be actions that come out of that to help us become a better school district.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wagner?
One thing that I agree and applaud the board for is passing a CAP compliant budget. This reflects skill and creativity, and I think that they're pretty good at finding efficiencies where possible. One thing, it's not necessarily that I disagree with, but it's kind of on the subject of communication, because I don't think a big enough commitment has been made to that subject. I've done a lot of research on this subject, and I would love to see the board take proactive measures and utilize, there's an app called Parent Square that districts use across the country, as well as a few here locally. And I think communication is a big issue here. And with communication comes increased engagement. And all the time, I know myself, I don't even know what I missed because I didn't know it exists. I'm sure it was in a newsletter somewhere and it was somewhere on a website, but it is not really being communicated to me in a direct manner. And what the Parent Square app does is it allows you to self-select into things that you're interested in, whether it's the grades of your kids or athletics. And basically you get text every day saying, parent fundraiser on Friday. There was a lockdown drill today. Don't forget, to opt in to be considered for your honors classes. It really covers everything across the board, from academics to stuff like a lockdown drill. It's delivered in a bite-sized text data with a link that you can explore more details if you need. And the best part about it is it translates to every language, which is very important for an international community like ours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa?
Thank you. The board's renewal of their commitment to student safety and their willingness to let the administration be laser focused on exploring different options to keep our students and staff safe was a decision I wholeheartedly agreed with. It's difficult to acknowledge a specific position I disagree with because I'm not really sitting on the board yet. I will say that the communication is vital to our community. Over the years, there have been issues that have arisen in the district that required a bit of work, research, or relationships to get the full answer. As a board member, I will work to ensure that every member of our community is well informed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Wagner, you're next. Every school district in America needs to evaluate its physical security. Aside from an ongoing partnership with local law enforcement, what specific policies, procedures, and investments will you advocate for to improve the physical security of school buildings?
This is an incredible question, but unfortunately it's not a 90-second kind of a question, security. But in short, I think we need to define and implement security measures that will not only keep our kids and staff safe, but also maximize police response times. Immediately, I think at Daniel Warren, we need to install key card fobs on the front and the back gates and adopt zero tolerance for anyone who's on the property during school hours that's not supposed to be. We need to replace the full glass doors at the side and left entrances at Daniel Warren and address the unguarded lobby that happens at lunchtime. District-wide, I think I would love to see the district install silent alarms in every single classroom. This would be a measure that would lead to increased response times. I'd like the district to install key card fobs in every interior room of the district with immediate locking capabilities. This would also lead to an increase in response time. I would want the district to take a big effort in eliminating all soft targets, addressing mental health, having more eyes on the ground, more cameras, more education to children and staff about awareness and identifying what and who doesn't belong, enhancing the district-wide safety committee, working with neighboring districts to see what works. When I watched the video on the Rise School safety measures, I wish that was Rhinebeck, adding daily campus police patrols, ideally increasing security headcount. So it could be from parking aids, monitoring the building entrances and exits, to trained security, which I understand will be the new norm moving forward, starting with the 2 hires we just made. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa.
Thank you. Student safety on and off campus is one of the most prevalent concerns, not only in Rhinebeck, but across our country. First and foremost, I'm a mom to 3 boys in 3 different Rhinebeck schools. Without safe campuses, all of the other points we are discussing tonight have little relevance. When I attended last week's Programs and Priority meeting, I was impressed with both the parents who voiced their concerns and Dr. Latinsky's responses. School safety is obviously an area that can always be improved upon. We are never going to stop aiming to make our children as safe as possible. As a board member, I can promise you that safety and security will remain a top priority for me. To the parents out there, I know it can be exhausting to care so much and feel like nothing is changing, but it is changing. It will change. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carmel.
I agree strongly that the physical safety of our children, when we drop our kids at school, knowing that they'll be safe and well when we go and pick them up, is absolutely the priority. When I started looking into this, it's a little disheartening, but also gives us hope that there's best practices in this area over the many years that we've now dealt with school safety issues, including the school safety working group that report that went to the Attorney General. And in it, they outlined 10 best practices. And what I think has been great about the local advocacy is that many of those best practices have been, in their platform for what to do. There's absolutely low-hanging fruit. Replacing the glass doors with barriers that would really provide a deterrent for any bad actors is something that can get done this summer. Internally locking classrooms, protection from the outside. These are things that we can work towards. And with a board and a superintendent committed to children's safety with effective parent advocates, we can get there. We need these actions need to happen starting this summer, and we'll push aggressively to make sure our kids are safe.
Thank you very much. Well, believe it or not, we are at our final question. So we'll start with Ms. Santa. In some areas, parents are actively challenging reading materials and wanting to ban books. Some school boards around the country are supporting these measures. What are your views on books in schools and classrooms?
I am not in favor of banning books, but I believe this question goes back to communication and community outreach. Parents should have their voices heard. Administration needs to make decisions that are best for the whole student population. These voices can come together respectfully and collaboratively. If the board and administration communicate their reasoning behind the decision, I believe we can all come to an understanding that is comfortable to different opinions. Understanding why, even if you disagree, makes an explanation more palatable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carmel.
No to banning books. I think so what seems like a pretty easy answer becomes more complex as you dig, right? Which is, should our students have access to materials of viewpoints that we may not agree with? And that's a bit of a thorny issue. I think that the school administration, needs to be sensitive to the many different ways that kids grow and their emotional needs. And sometimes those needs are met through books that, have viewpoints that some in the community may disagree with. I'm generally in favor of children learning about the world through reading and including some of these sensitive issues. And absolutely, we need to be a school district that, supports learning, support the love of books, not banning books.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wagner.
Do you mind, I'm all for not banning books, but do you mind repeating the other part of the question, please?
Sure. So it concludes with some school boards around the country are supporting these measures, but what are your views on books in schools and classrooms?
Okay, I agree with Jason. I'm all about books being the lens through which kids learn so many different things, both, academic as well as, personal interests. I'm sensitive to parents' feedback when they're uncomfortable with something that might be in a book or that's being taught in a classroom that doesn't necessarily align with their family's beliefs. I think that as a school we need to hear that and learn more about what makes people uncomfortable. But I am all about, trusting our administrators who design our curriculum to, that they know best, and that should really be something that we should support. And at no cost should we be banning books that are part of the curriculum and that have been teaching children for decades and centuries. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're at closing statement time. And as I said earlier, closing statements will be given in the reverse order as the opening statements, which were alphabetical. Candidates, you have up to 2 minutes for your closing statement. So we will begin with Ms. Wagner.
Okay. Thank you to our community for tuning in, to the League of Women Voters, and of course to Jamie and Jason for wanting to serve our district. It's a big deal. As I mentioned earlier, I was successful in my corporate career because I was a good listener and I was in touch with people's needs and their goals. One of the reasons I decided to run for the board is because the more I listened to members of the community, the more I realized I had both the ideas on how to affect positive change and the skills required to do so. I'm someone people feel comfortable talking to, and as a result, I've been tuned into the community's feedback regarding Rhinebeck for years. My candidacy has only amplified the conversation and the details. It is this open dialogue that will keep Rhinebeck moving forward and propel our schools to achieve greater success. As a trustee, I will pledge to drastically improve communication and prioritize parents as our partners in success. Open communication is essential in a district as intimate as ours. When I look around, I can say I genuinely like my neighbors. I really enjoy the kids that our children bring home. I'm impressed by all of the Rhinebeck grads who come back home to their parents. And I really love the friends that we've made that we now consider family. We have a wonderfully down-to-earth community that I'm immensely proud to be a part of. And I'm excited to get back to our district and do my part in taking Rhinebeck to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santa.
Thank you, Kathy, and the League of Women Voters for giving Jason, Erica, and I the opportunity to speak to the Rhinebeck community tonight. Thank you to all of you who took the time to join us virtually to hear our thoughts and ideas about moving Rhinebeck forward. Since announcing my candidacy a few weeks ago, I have been so appreciative of getting to hear the different voices from the community members with whom I have interacted. I look forward to speaking to more of you in the days, weeks, and months ahead. The common thread is we all want Rhinebeck School District to be the best it can be. Our diversity of ideas, our strong community ties, and our willingness to work together is what makes us Rhinebeck. If elected, I promise to be approachable, to not only listen, but to hear and communicate your ideas to other members of the board and administration, and to not give up when faced with administrative pushback. If given the opportunity, I will bring my strong sense of commitment, dedication to our community, and understanding of our district's strengths and potential as your Board of Education trustee. I have a proven track record of working collaboratively to achieve common goals, and I am confident that I can build on the success of our schools to make certain that all students have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Without a doubt, I am dedicated to all the students and families of Rhinebeck. I am confident that I have the experience and I have the time to tackle this crucial role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carmel.
Thank you so much for moderating this, and thank you to Jamie and Erica. We were joking on emails that, I was expecting running for a board in America, a school board in America, that it would be more Jerry Springer show than Lincoln Douglas debates. And the civility that they've shown and during this campaign is the sort of civility that I want to bring into the school board. We want to be persistent but also polite, and that sense of civility is both important in terms of the way that we get business done on the board, and it's also the way that we want our kids and our community to treat one another. If I were fortunate enough to be on the board, I would put teachers in the front of the room with all of the resources that they need. I've been that teacher in front of a classroom, and I know how demanding it is. Let's give them the curriculum, but also the space to really lead. For the principals and the superintendent, this goes double. These are wonderful professionals who should be, help. As a board, we can help guide them, but they need the leadership to make their own way. And we hope to really support them in their vision. And then the last is to the parents, many of you listening tonight. You are the engines for new ideas, for the great work that goes on in individual classrooms, in the PTSA, the Booster Club, throughout our district. We will listen to you. We will listen to your ideas, and when those ideas become policy, we will fight to make sure that those things get done. I look forward to your partnership. Thank you.
And thank you. So this concludes our forum for this evening. Thank you to all of the candidates, Mr. Jason Carmel, Ms. Jamie Santa, and also Ms. Erica Wagner. We thank all of you. And we also thank the audience for attending this evening. I remind you that this forum was video recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing via the League of Women Voters of Rye-Brook, Portchester's website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel. And it will also be shared with the Rhinebeck Union Free School District. And remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. We encourage everyone to vote on May 16th from 6 in the morning till 9 o'clock in the evening. So with that, we say thank you and good night.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Hi.